Hi, I'm Matt. Everyone has something they're really good at. For me, it was food. I used to watch my grandma cook whenever my parents would take me to her place on the weekends. And the longer I watched her, the more I knew that that was what I wanted to do when I grew up. I wanted to make people happy. But my parents had other ideas.
Cook? You want to cook for people? I didn't work this hard to give you a comfortable life, only for you to want to be people's servant.
Sweetie, listen to your dad. Cooking's for maids or girls. You're the son of a mining tycoon. Now, why would you want to be someone's maid?
I want to be a chef. I want to travel the world, and you will work for me, and you will inherit the business. And that's that.
But my parents grew busier and busier. They took more and more business trips, and that meant I spent more time with Grandma, and I got to watch her cook. I wasn't allowed in the kitchen, so at night I would sneak out, and I would practice in the dark, making as little noise as I could, perfecting the recipes that I memorized just by watching. I got so good at it that I began inventing my own dishes. Grandma eventually discovered my secret, and she was so happy that I was learning to cook, she let me practice during the day. But one morning, as I practiced my skills as Grandma tended the garden, the door to my grandma's kitchen opened. My parents came back early. Mom grabbed my hand and threw all the food on the floor. Dad dragged me outside and pushed me into the car. They never took me to visit Grandma again. My parents ended up sending me to boarding school. It was a place where only the elite went, and we were all studying for one goal: to inherit our parents' empires. I, on the other hand, chose to study poetry and theater, and when I had free time, I would hang out with the lunch ladies. I asked them questions, and we talked for hours about food. Until one day, I realized that my parents had asked the school to spy on me. The principal's voice boomed over the school's PA system.
Matthew John Wilkins, you are hereby banned from entering the cafeteria. Report to the principal's office immediately.
People pointed at me. They laughed at me. They whispered behind my back as I passed because they all thought I was weird for being obsessed with food. They all thought I was a creep because I hung out with the staff, the janitors, and the cooks. And I didn't understand why. I also didn't understand why they were mean to the staff, why they barely looked at them, and they never treated them as if they were people. One time, I saw a girl throw an entire omelet at a lunch lady just because it had parsley on it, and she didn't like parsley. I thought I would be able to escape my parents at boarding school, but it was just worse there. Every single kid in there was just a mini version of my mom and dad, only they were even more spoiled and even more mean. I still persevered, though. Whenever I could, I would download cookbooks and cooking videos on my phone. Some nights, I would tiptoe in pitch darkness all the way to the library building and smuggle books about cuisines from parts of the world I could only dream of tasting. I smuggled those books into my dorm room to read under the covers, and I would sneak into the kitchens when nobody was around. The lunch ladies were kind enough to help, and they would always leave me random ingredients to practice with, even though the management would tell them to throw away any scraps. They risked their jobs just to be kind to me. Then, one day, the dorm manager found the books I hid under my bed. They confiscated them and locked all the cookbooks in the restricted section of the library, and the lunch ladies were fired that same day. I was sad for a while, and I poured all my energy into school again. I promised myself I would become successful so that I could help people who got fired because of me. There was a girl I liked. Her name was Moira, but I quickly found out that my crush on her was not something I wanted to pursue. She was the worst of them. She was rude and she was entitled. I once saw her kick her maid because she took 2 seconds too long to open her car door. She also treated the school staff as if she paid their salaries. She probably thought that because she was dating the guy whose father did pay their salaries. His name was Everett. If Moira was the queen bee at school, Everett was her king. Every girl pined after him, and every guy worshipped him. He got driven around everywhere by his own chauffeur in a car that costs even more than a 3-bedroom house. And everywhere he went, people bowed to him and treated him like royalty. When Everett found out that I had a crush on his girlfriend, he started seeing me as a target, and he wasted no opportunity. He put his minions to work, and in less than a day, there were pictures of me circulating around the school. They were fake, obviously, but his minions photoshopped me with his girl that used to go to school there. Chelsea had crooked teeth, her face was unfortunately riddled with acne, and her hair was in the shape of a perfect bowl. Everyone used to laugh at her whenever she walked down the halls, and she cried every day. That's why she left and transferred schools. I always thought she was pretty cool because she loved anime like me. But now they were using her to humiliate me. They spread photos around of me kissing her.
No wonder Matt's obsessed with Moira. Yeah, if my girlfriend looked like Chelsea, I'd want to replace her immediately.
I wasn't even affected by the photos. I just wished they'd stop talking about Chelsea like that, even though she wasn't there anymore. But as I was taking down the photos they posted around campus, I felt someone grab me from behind, and as I turned, I felt a stinging slap across my face.
How dare you? I don't ever want my name associated with yours. You hear me? You weirdo?
What? I'm not the one telling anyone.
So you're saying you don't have a crush on me? Are you saying I'm ugly?
I was so confused. Everett was right behind her, cracking his knuckles.
How dare you tell my girlfriend she's not hot?
I found myself upside down in a dumpster after that. And as the years went on, it only became harder and harder to be invisible. So I just kept my head down and accepted every humiliation that came my way. I just wanted school to be over. When I finally graduated, I was so relieved. I worked at my dad's business and did everything by the book. I learned my lesson. I knew that sticking out and being different only led to bad things. So I did what was expected of me. But I was never happy, and I knew why. My dad was so proud of how I rose to the highest position in the company that he eventually retired and left everything to me. On that same day, we awarded one old guy who had been with the company for over 35 years. I gave him 2 tickets to Hawaii, an executive suite at an exclusive resort, and a check for $10,000. He just looked at the gifts and blinked. Is something wrong? Aren't you happy?
I wasted my years here. I wanted to be a writer, and now here I am. 35 years I poured into the desk. I lost my wife, my kids. Who am I gonna take on this trip with me?
And that was when I realized I didn't want to spend 35 years before I went after my dreams. That was the very first day I truly felt free. And you know what I did? I sold the entire company to my dad's rivals. My mom and dad tried to protest, but they couldn't do anything. Everything had already been transferred in my name. I traveled the world and tried food from every country in Asia, Europe, and Africa. I bought a huge farm and built a unique high-end restaurant on a hill that overlooked the vineyards. I hired all those lunch ladies and janitors that were kind to me at my old school, and together we made one of the country's top restaurants. People from everywhere came to our restaurant. Couples got engaged there, some had their first and last dates there. Presidents and prime ministers dined there. Our reservation list was months long. One day, the restaurant manager came to me in a panic, saying that there was a couple who just barged in without a reservation, and after eating, they tried to dine and dash. But when the waiter caught them, they went back to their table and pretended to still be eating.
It's been 4 hours. They refuse to leave, and the Prime Minister of Japan is waiting at the bar.
I'll take care of it. I went to their table and smiled, but when they looked up at me, I wasn't the only one who was shocked.
Oh my God. Matt?
Who?
Matt, from boarding school.
It's been a long time. I'm glad you paid us a visit. I wish you would have called us so I could have given you a reservation.
Nice digs you got here.
The food was incredible. I had no idea you owned this place. Your restaurant's so famous. Thanks, although, unfortunately, I do have to ask if we could maybe sit you at the bar, as we have a reservation waiting for this table. We're just waiting on you to settle your bill.
What do we owe you?
I showed them the bill, and their jaws dropped. His card got declined. Everett started poking around his pockets to pull out pennies and dimes, and Moira began to sweat. Can you put it on our tab for now? It seems Everett's forgotten his wallet. I smiled. I'm sorry, we only open tabs for regular customers. Everyone was staring at the scene that Moira and Everett were making, and they were starting to get very, very embarrassed.
Please, man, help us, for old time's sake. I didn't know it was gonna be this expensive. Get us out of here.
I smiled and escorted them from their table towards the kitchen. For old time's sake, I pointed at the mountain of dishes, and then I told them they could pay for their meal by working there for 3 weeks. Dishes? Please, I'll do anything else. I'll go on a date with you. I laughed, just in time for my beloved wife to step into the kitchen in her finest dress. Ah, Moira, Everett, I heard you guys were here. You guys remember Chelsea from boarding school? Their jaws dropped once again. The girl they used to laugh at was now more beautiful than any girl they'd met. And she was my wife. I kissed her, and we laughed as the two began to wash the dirty dishes.